Nancy Green with Film Critique. And I want to thank you also for these projects. For me, Subnormal was actually also very personal. I didn't know that things like that happened in other places. For me personally, I grew up briefly, like my early childhood years in the South, and I was put into a special school. And they did that with a lot of the Black students in my school at the time, in my elementary school. Like one by one, they were sent away to different places. And I was put into a school where there were people with mental disabilities and things like that, and other challenges, behavioral. And we were told that we could go back to our normal school if we got enough gold stars. And gold stars meant you couldn't complain about anything. If anyone bullied you, you weren't allowed to say anything. If anything went wrong, you weren't allowed to say anything. Basically, you had to be very silent and just do whatever they told you. And if you got enough gold stars, you'd get to go back to your school. I noticed that very rarely, like as an adult thinking back on it, very rarely the Black students were allowed to go back to their schools. Only occasionally, maybe, you know, one or two of the other white students. There were very few white students, except for people with like severe behavior problems or mental disabilities. Luckily, I was saved from that because at a different time, and I went to live with different parents. And so, you know, I didn't know that there were so many Black people that went through this, you know, and seeing this and seeing what that does to people, I found it so profound. And I wanted to know what made you tackle this particular topic, especially with Subnormal.
I'm dyslexic, and I didn't go to a special school. The reason why I didn't go to a special school because it was Black parents and the Black Teachers Association, which basically got it demolished. I went to school in the 80s, so I went to high school in 82, 83. But before that, prior to that, a few years before, you know, Black children were just being sort of, transported to these schools. And it was only because of the Black Parents Association and the Black Teachers Association that this actually stopped, because they put so much pressure on the government, and basically they're my heroes. They're heroes that stopped this from happening. So yeah, it was kind of personal to me also, absolutely. And you know, a lot of those scenes in the film in education are actually real scenes, like the guy playing in House of the Rising Sun. Oh yeah, I mean we became his audience for his sort of whatever. He's sort of people standing in front of the mirror with a hairbrush. He did it in front of us. Anyway, but it's kind of interesting, because what's so interesting about your story as well is that it takes sometimes films or other people saying what they've gone through for people to face their own unfortunate recent history. And I think it's only can benefit us to talk about these things, and we could finally heal, because we do carry these things with us. And what for me about education and Subnormal, what I wanted to talk about a lot, especially in education, were how we as a people turned it around. I would have definitely gone to Subnormal school, but I did not, because of those people who basically, there's mothers and fathers and teachers who just said no. So yeah. Well, and thank you for sharing your story. It's very beautiful. Thank you for being so brave.
Thank you, and thank you so much for your project.
You just touched me. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Nancy Green again. I wanted to find out from you, how difficult was it to bring these projects into fruition, especially given the scope and the similarities of some of the things that have happened. So I wanted to know what were like some obstacles, and how did you overcome those in bringing these projects forward?
Well, none through the BBC, which was, you know, it takes to get so much done in one's life to get someone to say yes. So that it took a long time, but that wasn't a problem. It was more to do, you know, myself and you know, James Rogan, who co-wrote, directed with me, was fantastic as a researcher. I think it was the research. I think that was it, and also it was just painful. The most difficult thing was the pain, and that's so interesting because when I had came up with the idea, obviously I in Alex Wheatle, one of the movies in Small Axe, I touched on New Crossfire, but I couldn't make a narrative film out of it. I didn't want to. I knew it in my mind that I want to touch on it, but it had to be a documentary because or some kind of investigative film because it needed to be sort of resurrected. It needed to be sort of excavated with care. And the only way I think I could have done that was to bring the unfortunate survivors and victims of that fire to be involved with the actual process of making a film. That for me was the only way of actually doing this story as such, or telling this unfortunate part of our recent history, was in collaboration with the people who survived the fire and the next of kin. So that was the most difficult thing, working with them in a way, just emotionally. It was an honor to do so.
Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure.